Bosnia is inaugurating its 3 newly elected presidents. They represent the country's 3 main ethnic groups: Serbs, Bosnian Muslims, and Croats. Each president will rotate seats every 8 months.
This arrangement was made under a peace deal that ended the Bosnian War in the 1990s. Nationalism dominated the country's election, fueling fears Bosnia could face more ethnic division in the future. For more on this, let's bring in CBSN contributor Willis Sparks. He writes for Signal, a newsletter produced by GZero Media. Willis, everybody who's of a certain age remembers that horrific war, the Bosnian War.
Yeah, I'm of that age.
Yeah, we are of that age. And to think that there are still long simmering tensions still percolating within that country. You traveled there recently. What did you find out?
Well, first of all, it's a beautiful country.
It is. It is.
And
I've been there
I
a couple
recommend
times.
anybody go there. I mean, first of all, it's a very beautiful place to visit. People are very friendly. But this is a haunted country. If you go to Sarajevo, for example, which is a great place, you can see an Ottoman history from the period when it was in the Ottoman Empire and it was run by Turks. There's an Austro-Hungarian history. There's all the World War I history, because World War I, of course, started with the assassination of an archduke on a street corner in Sarajevo.
Yes.
And then there's the 1990s. And you can still see bullet holes in the buildings as you walk down the street from the fighting that was there. And you can see that in Mostar, which is also a beautiful place. Basically what happened is that there was this terrible civil war when Yugoslavia broke into its different parts, and politicians of the various groups became very tribal in the pitches that they were making to voters. There was a terrible war. Of course, a lot of people were killed. And then outsiders came in and froze the conflict about 20 years ago. And you showed in the beginning what the Bosnian flag looks like.
Yeah.
This doesn't represent the people of Bosnia in any way. This is a flag that was basically designed by Europeans. It has European colors, blue and white. It's got stars.
The colors are the old Yugoslavia. Right.
But the triangle here is meant to represent Croats, Bosnian Muslims, and Serbs. And the stars are kind of meant to represent a possible European future. In other words, if these 3 points on this triangle all behave themselves, hey, maybe one day you can join the European Union. But basically what happened is, 20 years ago, it's like a referee in a boxing ring who said, all right, enough with the fighting, everybody go to your corner. And everybody's still in their corner. It's a fairly peaceful place on the surface. But, you know, Bosnian Muslims tend to live in their own communities. They go to their own schools, their own churches, of course. They drink in their own bars. They go to their own cafes. They have their own services. And Croats have their own things. And the Serbs have their own part of the country. And basically, there has not been any real success in trying to create a national identity that brings these 3 groups of people. That's why you have 3 presidents. Because the only way that you can be sure you don't go back to violence is you don't impose a president of one group on a country that is still very divided along these lines.
But it begs the question, 3 different presidents, I presume representing 3 different groups, does that stoke division as opposed to solve the problem?
Well, again, right now what it does is it freezes everything in place because nothing really changes. If there's economic growth in that country, it's only because of foreign aid. And youth unemployment is a big problem. So basically, the 3-president system, it works okay. There's a similar system in a country like Lebanon, where you have a prime minister, a president, and a speaker of the House that represent Sunni, Shia, and Christians. It's not unique to Bosnia, but there's this frozen system where you have nothing going on, because that's the way to avoid conflict, is basically to have a place where no one really has the power to make actual decisions. Outsiders keep propping it up and hoping that these old rivalries don't reemerge. But we just had elections last month, which is why we have 3 presidents. And what we're hearing is more and more nationalist, tribalist voices in these elections saying our group is being taken advantage of, and that's where the danger really comes from.
It'll be interesting and intriguing to see how this plays out. I mean, I think it is an interesting concept politically, and we'll just have to wait and see. It's never really been done before. You pointed out in the case of Lebanon, but it'll just be, I think,
it's kind of a jerry-rigged country, and it's working for now, but can it work indefinitely?
Right.